racism, a whole lot of crap. A whole lot of racism, a whole lot of crap. Starbucks coffee is anti-black. Starbucks coffee is anti-black. Is y'all? A whole lot of coffee, a whole lot of whack. A whole lot of coffee, a whole lot of whack. Starbucks coffee is anti-black. Starbucks coffee is anti-black.
What is going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at a video by Candace Owens. This video is called "This Woman Was Literally Fired for Being White." I really want to get into this one.
I remember getting so many questions from people all across America when they had realized the scam of BLM and white people were going, what can we do? What can we do? We're being treated poorly. I mean, things got pretty strange. You actually had people in the streets, especially during the George Floyd riots. Remember people that were bowing down to black people who were shining their shoes? It really was a bit of a mind virus that was taking place. But the few people that realized what was happening and recognized didn't know how to respond to it because they were so fearful of being smeared as a racist. There was so much power in the hands of black Americans at that time. You could make any accusation and a white person would lose their jobs. And I remember being very firm in my response to them, which was to essentially say, we have laws against this. You guys should be filing lawsuits. Racial discrimination doesn't just work one way. If it ever makes it through the courts, you guys will be awarded an amount. Well, good news, guys, that has been proven. There was a white Starbucks manager that was fired over a racism feud, and she has just won $25 million, and it is because they fired her for no reason. So I'm going to back it up and remind you of the story. You might remember it, you might not. So it took place in Rittenhouse Square, which is in Philadelphia, right in downtown Philadelphia, at a Starbucks. And essentially what happened was two black men walked in and they sat down and they did not purchase anything from Starbucks. And then one of them got up and they asked for access to the bathroom. And the person behind the counter, who happened to be a white employee, said to them, no, we are not going to provide you access to the bathroom because you haven't bought anything. And let me just pause right there and say that when I talk about the tremendous privilege of being a black American, it is that now we are not expected to behave like other people know that you should behave with common courtesy and decency in post-BLM America. I would be so ashamed and weirded out to go into a private establishment and ask to use the bathroom, to sit down and ask to use the bathroom without having bought anything. Now, we've all been in those circumstances where you might be out somewhere in the middle of a city and you suddenly...
I would say that that's pretty weird. I would be pretty ashamed too. Like, what am I even doing up in here? Why would you even go into the establishment if you're not going to buy anything? Go to a bathroom, find a bathroom somewhere else easily. What?
Realized sex happened to me in London where you're like, I have to go to the bathroom. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? The first thing that I always do is I do, of course, find a restaurant, find a place like Starbucks, but I feel compelled to buy something because it just feels wrong, right? It's about morality. There's not a law necessarily that you should do the right thing here. But of course, I always buy something. I'll buy the smallest thing. I'll buy a cookie from Starbucks. And then I'll say, as soon as I check out, oh, by the way, what's the code to the bathroom? But these two men were not feeling that they had to do that. They were waiting for somebody else, allegedly, which actually got proven to be true. And they were like, no, we just want the code to the bathroom. And at that point, the person asked them, if you're not going to buy anything, we're going to ask you to leave. Now, people who don't live in cities and don't know what these Starbucks can be like, when you have people, and again, granted, these two men were not an example of this, who will just loiter at these places, will sit down, will not buy anything. You can get a lot of homeless people sitting down, not buying anything. It does become incumbent upon the employees to keep the place cleared and say, essentially, if you're not here to buy something, we obviously don't want you sitting here and doing nothing all day, so please leave. So they assumed that that was a circumstance, and when the persons refused to buy something before using the bathroom, they asked the gentleman to leave, and the gentleman refused to leave. And at that point, this Starbucks employee called the police. And of course, what happened subsequently was that it was captured on video, these men being arrested at a Starbucks for nothing, they said. Take a look.
What did they get called for? Because there are two black guys sitting here meeting me? Yes, well, what did they do? What did they do? Did someone tell me what they did?
They didn't do anything. I saw the entire thing.
What did they do?
Nothing. And the woman said it's for paying customers only. They're after us. They didn't do anything.
So they didn't do anything, but except they refused to leave. They refused to leave when the employee asked them to leave because they had nothing to do there. They had no reason to be there. They weren't buying anything. All they had to do was go to the bathroom. Now, granted, depending on the person, they probably would have let them go to the bathroom, but you have no obligation or no right to go to the bathroom if the employee says no. I've been to a couple of establishments. I know a lot of different colored people, like every colored person. I have a lot of friends, and they always go to establishments, and I know some have problems with up in bars, up in all these establishments, with things, and they just tell them to leave, and they leave. They don't stay. They don't argue with the person. What's the point of arguing? Just leave.
So you can see immediately as they're capturing this on video, they're already racializing the scenario. What did they do? Arrested for being black? Oh yeah, we just got the call. There's some black people. Let's arrest them in Philadelphia, a predominantly black city. I used to live in Philadelphia. It was completely bonkers that the police were called simply because black people were there. Then you hear the woman in the background saying they didn't do anything, they didn't purchase anything. And they said that if you're not going to be a patron of this establishment, you need to leave, essentially. And that makes sense. Again, these are private businesses, especially in a city where there's high traffic. You do want to keep those sorts of things free. And by the way, it's a very simple solve here. Again, talking about the tremendous privilege would have been for these gentlemen to simply say, okay, I'm going to give me the cheapest thing on the menu. Give me the lollipop. I think Starbucks literally sells lollipops. And they could have purchased a lollipop, resumed seating, and asked for the bathroom code. They didn't want to do this because something has been in the air post-BLM where Black Americans do not feel, some Black Americans, I shouldn't say all Black Americans, but many Black Americans do not feel that they have to play by any sorts of these standards, which is just, for me, being a decent human being, buy the freaking lollipop. And
I actually kind of disagree. With this take. I don't think many African Americans are black people. I think the younger generation, like my generation, I'm only 22 years old, Generation Z, Gen Z, whatever you want to call it. I think like people my generation, and probably like a bit older, probably like millennial, they probably got like this type of complex. But like older black people, they're respectful. Because they've been through all of this stuff. They're pretty respectful. So I wouldn't say many, unless you want to say that majority are young people, which I don't agree with. I don't even know the demographics, but I don't agree with that. I don't think it is. So I would disagree with this take that many African Americans or blacks think that, they're entitled to something, and they can act a certain way. I disagree with that.
And everything is solved. So instead they got arrested, and you know exactly what ensued, which were mass protests. People were so upset with Starbucks. How could you? You arrested them simply because they were black, everybody ignoring, obviously, the race of Philadelphia as a city. And what happened were boycotts, there were threats, and people that were lining up into the Starbucks with chants. Take a listen.
A whole lot of racism, a whole lot of crime. A whole lot of racism, a whole lot of crime. Starbucks coffee is anti-black. Starbucks coffee is anti-black.
This is just funny. This is just hilarious. What is this? Starbucks coffee is anti-black? Starbucks coffee is anti-black, really? Really? Come on now. At this point, it's just getting ridiculous. This is what happened in 2020? This stuff happened in 2020? Where was I at with this? I would have loved to see this story. Somebody saying Starbucks coffee is anti-black. Do you know how laughable that is? Like, at that point, we're just in clown world. Like, what are we even in? Like, what type of universe are we in? What timeline are we in? Come on.
A whole lot of coffee, a whole lot of whack. A whole lot of coffee, a whole lot of whack. Starbucks coffee is anti-black. Starbucks coffee is anti-black.
Okay, before Candace even goes in, I'm just going to end the video right here. If you want to watch the rest of this video, if you want to watch her video, it's going to be in a link in the description below. I'm 6 minutes in. It's about 4 minutes left. If you want to watch the rest, it's a good video so far. She's very articulate, as you guys know. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Peace.